in my understanding of karma is
Hmm.
that, and it shows up in physical problems too,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
the way trauma can get lodged in the flesh, and you're carrying it around for, years and years when
Yeah.
you don't really need to, but unless you actively remove it,
Yeah.
it's gonna ride with you to the end of your days.
Hmm.
And so that lessens it makes it more okay to remove something like that from a person. And I really think that's what he's talking about. Things that are,
Okay.
things that have gotten to a level of automatism that
Hmm.
they're just simply in the way. And
And that does happen. I mean, we get things lodged in our body and they'll eventually turn into some kind of illness,
yeah,
just even if we've forgotten about it.
yeah,
But I
you know,
just
the,
figured karma was something else, you know,
yeah, yeah. Well,
complicated.
it is complicated, but there are different levels of it. Everything from just something being stuck to
Hmm.
something you really seriously are working on, because of and
Right.
and even then it's doesn't necessarily mean that you really screwed up in a previous life and now you're making a correction. It
Hmm.
could be you're doing something ahead of time to prepare yourself for a future life that your overall trajectory is pointing to,
Right. So it's
you
better to
know?
face it now so that you're better prepared. Yeah, that makes sense. See, and you wouldn't want
Yeah.
to take that away from someone.
Oh, no, no. But that's where I think we'd be able to see what's in the way and
And maybe so. And like with the whole
yeah,
paragraph, it talks about you're talking to them. So you might realize, oh, they're working on this one. So you'd go, oh, I better
right.
leave it alone. Let them work it out themselves because, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not always cognitive, Sometimes you talking with somebody and an image will come up or
Mhm.
memory comes up, which are indications of what you're actually seeing. So it's not a simple thing. It's definitely it's complex. Karma, I think, is really complex. The
Mhm.
biggest insight I've had in karma is that it's not according to the deed, but the need,
Right. Yeah.
you know? And that just, there's the love of God right there. Because, it takes, I say that there is no vindictiveness in God whatsoever, that God is completely unconscious of, not just unconscious, but it doesn't exist in God. We
Well, I
create.
understand. I mean,
Yeah,
because even some of my experiences, which are horrible, really, and a lot of people have, them, it's like you do learn something and it does give you something to offer the world where,
yeah,
I wouldn't have otherwise.
yeah, exactly. And it gives you something to offer to the world because that kind of thing is so prevalent because we create it. It reminds me of that cartoon where the guy is sitting on the park bench talking to Jesus and he says, Jesus, why do you let so much evil exist in the world? And Jesus says, I was just going to ask you the same thing,
I know. Yeah.
you know?
True.
So how much, all of the evil essentially we create.
Mhm.
And in
Or could
the
possibly prevent, or do something to, participate in making it less.
yeah, yeah, and we're in a consensual world that we've
Mhm.
created as a group. And in esoteric circles, I say that's why Jesus came and what it means that he saved the world, because that created world, the world we've created has become so dark and so crystallized that it had grown beyond our ability to do anything about it. So it needed outside intervention,
And that
somebody to
makes
come in and
sense.
crack it open.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah. I like what C.S. Lewis said. He said when you start seeing the world as a school
Hmm.
and not as a, a place that could be a paradise if something was different, then it
Yeah.
makes life so much easier to bear.
And it's more fun. It makes it all fun. And why not
Yeah,
have fun that you're learning things rather than enduring things?
yeah, getting flattened by a negative experience and then, and then it becomes just sheer survival rather than, oh, wow, I really messed up there. Let me
I know
think
you could
about
say,
that.
"Oh, I've just been given something that I'm supposed to learn from. What is there to learn from this?" Even
Yeah,
just to ask yourself, "What in the world can you learn from this?"
yeah, yeah. And then even the worst failure in life can become your greatest blessing.
Hmm.
I mean, I would much rather learn from somebody who's made all the mistakes than
Hmm.
somebody who's never made any mistakes.
Yeah, and
You
that's
know?
one of my things I have against some of these podcasters online. You can see they're like 22 or really young, and here they are trying to talk about things, like some of them, especially the ones that talk about health things. They're like, "Oh yeah, if you just do these exercises, you'll be." I'm like, "No, it doesn't work like that.
Right,
You're not
right.
50 yet. Don't speak to us."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this thing about mistakes, which really
Mhm.
is what generates karma, I guess you could say, because then it sets up the lesson or it reveals what you need to learn.
Yeah.
But if you don't see it as a mistake, if you see it like that distinction between when people talk about sin,
Yeah.
it's like what they mean is that people are inherently evil. When I think that the closer to the reality is that we're just simply prone to making mistakes because we don't understand the world we live in.
Hmm.
And if we do understand it and we still make mistakes, then we don't understand the currents and the nature of the soul and our free will and what we can get away with and what we can't, you know. So but it all resolves to a learning experience and not just a punishment, because so many people see human life as a punishment and therefore they want to escape it. They want to pay the debt and get the hell out. But
Yeah, but if you reframe that mistake as just an experience that you're supposed to learn from,
yeah,
like it wasn't a mistake.
yeah. Sin is error, not
Yeah.
sin
Hmm.
as it is inherent evil, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And when people talk about, especially Christians mostly, they talk about the fallen state of man. And I think there's good and bad about that. The good part is, yeah, watch it, because your tendency is to do evil. But but it leaves little room for the understanding that no, your tendency is simply to make mistakes. You're going to
Hmm.
screw up. And even if you have the best intention, you're still going to make mistakes.
And it's desirable
And it's desirable. Yeah, yeah. It's better
because
to,
now you make the mistake and now you can learn from it. And
yes.
and you often will have something to give back to other people because of your mistake.
Yeah, well, that's going beyond the boundary. That's
Hmm.
the hero's journey who goes into the illegal areas to try to figure it out and is outcast because of it, but it then is able to bring back knowledge and experience that benefits everybody. So,
I
yeah,
can already see the book, Mistakes as the Hero's Journey.
yeah, yeah,
You make the mistake, you get to be an outcast, and then you have to go figure things out, and then you come back and say, "Hey, I figured it out. I can
right.
help so nobody has to do this."
You know what this is? This is the prodigal son.
Yeah, it is.
The,
Hmm.
the son who stayed home wanted to play it safe,
Hmm.
but the father favored the son who was rebellious and adventuresome.
Yeah, it really is. And
And
so, of
life,
course, you celebrate when they come back
yes, exactly.
because the one that stayed home, it's like, well, we can all do that. It's not that
Right,
it's bad or anything, but it doesn't
right.
bring something new to
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the orientation that needs the adjustment. If we orient ourselves to life as a school and as a way to as the fields of the Lord in which we play, then we're constantly going to be testing the boundaries and finding out what we don't know. This
Hmm.
is this is where that thing that Socrates said, "I know nothing," and everybody takes it as an excuse, like the son who stayed home on his father's ranch. And the prodigal son went out
Yeah.
It's like the son who stayed home said, I know nothing, so I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
But the son said, I know nothing. I'm going to go find out.
And then you go make the first big mistake, and then it
Yep.
all goes from there.
And he found out. He found out. FAFO. But what better way to find out, when you bear the brunt of your own decisions, that's meaningful. That sticks. Whatever you learn by doing that, you never forget.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. I mean, you make the mistake, then you learn the lesson, and then you gain the wisdom and you bring it back.
Right. I love the way Brett Weinstein and his wife Heather Heying, their household rules for their kids, and they have 3 sons maybe. They said, here are the rules. You have permission to break an arm, to break a leg, to break a hand, but you do not have permission to lose an eye or damage your brain.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are the rules, So in other words, it's like encourage your children to go out and push the limits, try to test,
Yeah.
to misbehave, essentially, to break rules. Oh, and then Peterson told his son came home and said, they won't, at school, they won't let us throw snowballs, and they won't even let us make a snowball.
Oh.
And he said, okay, son, I give you permission to break any of the rules, but just know that you're going to have to pay the consequences for them.
Yeah, right.
And I thought, what a better permission to give.
I know, it's true.
Yeah, because there the child can explore their own conscience, their own
Hmm.
integrity, and their own agency, but also learn that they have to take the heat.
Hmm.
Yeah. So all of this to me ties into this thing called karma, which the word means action.
Yeah.
And action refers to free will, agency, freedom, all of these stellar values that we have. Yeah, I would like to teach more about karma along those lines because once a person has that permission, that's like a weight off of their shoulders. And then it awakens their own soul's desire.
Maybe that's part of what that text is talking about too. Maybe somehow it's giving permission.
Yeah, yeah. And it's almost like life itself giving life permission to bust out of the shell, to shed old skin and grow new skin.
Hmm.
That forward evolution of life itself. That's got to be the Holy Spirit, right?
Hmm.
The spirit of venturing forth, of growing, of go forth and multiply.
So is karma the thing that's pushing us forward? Like there's the mistake that ends up pushing us forward, or is it the stuck part holding us back?
I think, well, I would think that it's
Like
both.
stuck in a pattern.
Yeah, stuck in a pattern, and then when a pattern is stuck like that, then the lightning bolt of the tower key, some catastrophe has to happen to break patterns enough to where something new then can arise from the rubble.
Hmm. So is
But
that the karma, the thing that the disaster that breaks the pattern?
well, that to me is just a consequence of staying
Of being
stuck.
stuck, right? Because
Yeah,
the longer you stay stuck, the bigger it's going to take, the
right.
disaster to, or
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it, to undo it.
yeah. So own up now. Take responsibility now, in
Yeah.
small bites, so it doesn't come around and bite you. You know, that's like I think that directly applies to sufficient unto the day are the evils thereof. take
Hmm.
care of everything that comes up in the moment that it comes up, and then life has a lot less friction. Be proactive. I hate that word, but that's what people are meaning when they
So it's
say
like
be
this,
proactive.
right? So this karma being, if you consider it the being stuck in a pattern, but the longer you're stuck in that, it's like it's building up a karma that a mistake is going to happen. And the
Yeah,
longer you stay in it, the bigger that mistake's going to be. And is that the karma? Like it builds up because of.
just like a tectonic plate, you know?
That makes sense to me. Actually, this is the first time I've ever understood that.
Yeah,
Just because of being stuck in something, and the only way out is going to be to face something that you don't really want to face. And the longer you wait, the worse
yeah,
it's going to
yeah, major earthquake.
be. Yeah, yeah, big earthquake.
Yeah. I mean, maybe someday we'll be able to image the interior of the planet well, or at least the crust where we see those boundaries, and be able to artificially lubricate them in some way that allows them to slip a little bit at a time instead of getting jammed and then boom. So that's analogous to our own tectonics, because just like the planet has a crust, we have a crust, and which are composed of bad habits,
Mhm.
assumptions, beliefs, fears, desires. All of those things are like different plates, and they get jammed up, and then something happens, and boom, and we have this huge breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay,
then,
so now this is all making more sense, just so you know, in the document. It makes more sense.
oh, good. In the
Because
minister's
you have
teaching
those
manual,
four, you see within, you look at the past, then you see the patterns, and then karma.
karma. Yeah,
It's like, so karma isn't really a separate item.
yeah,
It's kind of like seeing, looking, and then you see what you feel, look at the facts, the past, and then you notice the big patterns, and then you see what is that pattern going to turn into, which you could call it karma. Like, oh, I see a repeating pattern, and if it
right.
continues, this big thing is going to happen. And you could say, oh, let's just
Yeah,
stop the pattern, and then it breaks the karma. You're not really getting into karma at that point. You're just saying, let's break this pattern now
yeah. And
in
there
this
you,
small way, in a little way that doesn't hurt anything.
right. And it could be something, and as far as removing karma for somebody or helping them through a karmic block like that it could be as simple as this person is afraid to speak up because they've been censored at some point in their life. So I'm going to put them in a position where they have to speak, and that's going to break up that pattern. It'll be messy, but it's exactly what they need. So that's the
And it
kind
could
of,
be just it could be just listening to them and letting them speak without criticism for a while, even though you would normally with, somebody that doesn't speak up very much.
yeah, that would be a phase, right?
Just encourage them to speak, and even if they say something wrong, you just let it go. And
Yeah. So different people would handle that differently. If a person was really stubborn, for instance, then you make them, put them in a situation where they had to. Whereas a person who's more healing and more sensitive, more compliant, then you would allow them a period of trust and unfolding naturally and not put too much pressure on them.
yeah, yeah, because if you read that last line where it says it's about karma, take them one at a time and get rid of them, it doesn't, it might not mean breaking them. It might be just give them permission, like help them, support them to break their own patterns.
Yeah.
It doesn't really say how.
Well, that's the beauty of it because you just need the principle and then you have to find out how as you do it.
I mean, because it could be even somebody, say, is going to try to take on a teaching position, and maybe they don't really know what they're doing, but you just still put them in the position and let them do it, and
Right.
don't be too critical, and just let it be, and maybe it will just clear away. I'm not saying they're bad teachers. I'm just saying, say they really were resistant to doing it,
Yeah, exactly.
and you just said, do it anyway. It'll be good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you
I,
do is fine. It's just the
I,
active, like you encourage them in that way.
I like it in the book of activity. It's one of the first verses that says, "And man shall know of himself as he lives." So, so nobody gets to know how to do something. They just
No,
know what to do. And you know, George Patton, the general, Second World War, one of his famous quotes is, "Never tell people how to do something. Tell them
yeah,
what to do and let them surprise you with their ingenuity."
yeah, and that's so important, actually.
Yeah,
Don't tell them how to do it because why would they even do it?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
and they
always a
can't use their own
temptation.
creativity. Yeah, so
It's a temptation, but I know for me, I like to, I love methods, and so
no more methods.
no more methods.
Unless they ask. It's different if they ask. If
Yeah.
they come and say, I really have no idea what to do. Do you have some suggestions?
Yeah. And I'll go in and say, since you're not asking, let me ask for you, and so I can answer.
I think we're seeing what's going on here now. I think we just did it. Or you did. I didn't.